Hi, I'm Jeff Goulding and I'm a Liverpool author.
And I'm Kieran Smith, the Liverpool historian.
Together, we've been working on a great new project, which is a book out later this year entitled The Untouchables, Anfield's Band of Brothers.
It's a great story about one of the greatest sides in Liverpool's history who won back-to-back titles in the 1920s.
Yeah, this is a team that is absolutely packed with incredible characters. Men who fought on the battlefields of Europe in the First World War and returned home to claim 2 league titles in a row.
And it's due for release in the UK in September. And thanks to our friendship now with the Liverpool Connection podcast, it's also going to be made available through them in the United States at the same time.
Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Connection podcast. I'm Daz. I've got Steve with me and our special guest today, all the way from Liverpool, and former Liverpool midfielder is Little Davy Thompson. How are you, mate?
My missus is the only one who calls me Little Davy.
Uh-oh.
One second, guys. I don't know why, but it just kicked me out of this, or kicked my screen out and asked me to enter the password again. Do you know? Right. And I don't know why it's done this, because am I in?
Yeah. I mean, we can see you, we can hear you.
I don't know why it done this last week when I was on one. Please wait. The meeting host will let you in. Let me.
Yeah, you're already in, but it says admit again.
Oh, this is strange.
Well, is there 2 of you?
There
is.
There's 2, all right.
Let me get rid of one.
Which one's the real David? Are you the real one?
It's asking me to sign in against David. Let me just find out what's going on here. Let me find out what's going on.
Because you haven't been vaccinated yet.
That's right.
Do you know what it is as well, right? My missus is like the techie in our house, and she's on a Zoom call herself in the other room. So,
my missus is the same. She's actually the one that does all the editing and everything. I'm just the voice.
Oh, there we go. I'm back. Yes.
He's back, ladies and gentlemen.
So we start again and take out the little part.
Yeah, go on. Let's reenact that bit.
Okay.
My missus is the only one that calls me Big Davy. In fact, she calls me the tripod.
Oh, geez. Youngsters listen to this show.
No, they don't really call me the tripod.
All right, here we go. Take 2. Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Connection podcast. I'm Dazza. I've got Steve with me, and today, all the way from Liverpool, is former Liverpool midfielder Davy Thompson. Hiya, mate.
Hiya, guys. How you doing?
Morning.
We're good. Yeah, great to have you on. I guess we'll get straight into it. From Birkenhead, obviously, you know, a Scouser, born and bred. Were you, like, when growing up, obviously we know you're in the youth setup. Who was your idol back in the day?
My idol, my team. Well, strangely enough, right, when I was a youngster, my dad bought me videos of George Best. Right, so I just used to watch the videos of George Best constantly and just thought he was just unreal, like unplayable at times. And at that time, my dad was an Evertonian, my brothers were Evertonian, so I just followed suit. And I was an Evertonian, so I was looking up to players like, at that time, would have been the likes of Kevin Sheedy, Trevor Stephen, Peter Reid, Graham Sharp, Andy Gray, you know, them type of players. And then obviously when I joined Liverpool and entered the ranks at Liverpool, and I'm turning up in my Everton jersey for training, and I think Cara was doing the same as well at times. So I think at first you do it as a bit of a novelty to try and stand out. You know what I mean? A bit of antagonising, you know. But yeah, no, very very quickly I abandoned that one. And as soon as you start, you know, competing against Everton as a Liverpool player, the rivalry is so intense. And you know, some of the games, even at under 14 and under 15, you know, we used to go to Belfield and play them. You know, some of the mums and dads were vicious. You know, some of the tackles that were flying in were horrific. So you very quickly learn to drop your allegiance. And Liverpool were good to me, very, very good to me as a kid. Looked after me, they made me feel welcome, and they become your family. So, you know, you quickly learn to you know, drop your allegiance or any allegiance to Everton.
So you started taking the posters off the wall.
The posters came down, yeah.
Yeah, ripping them. You don't still have them, do you?
No, I've only got my Kylie Minogue ones I used to have up.
So, David, how did you get, you know, started with Liverpool coming calling for you for the youth?
Yeah, during that time, I was always very good. I was always a very good player. You know, I think anyone who's got older brothers, and at that roundabout, especially at that time, anyone who's got older brothers. Liverpool meet Real Madrid in the Champions League.
Oh, nice one.
We were just talking about that. That was the perfect draw.
Bloody hell, breaking news from David Thompson.
Breaking news, yeah.
Hey, that's the one we wanted, right, David?
That's exactly the one, mate. The bigger the better for us. The bigger the better. And
they're not the team they used to be, though.
They're not the force of old, but they're very well organised. They're well structured. They've got players who are capable, but they've just got that history and that heritage behind them, and it's always going to be a very famous, you know, game, and probably one of the most watchable games on TV. So that's one I'm really looking forward to. I can't wait.
Yeah, we have a little bit of retribution in order for them anyway,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Ramos
Salah Part 2.
Do you know what I was thinking about Sergio Ramos today, and you know, as much as you dislike for him or disdain, you cannot get past how good a footballer he actually is. And,
yeah, you would have him on your team.
Wow, I mean, I love him. He winds everybody up. I mean,
he's a fighter.
I'd have Ramos centre half. I'd have John Terry to the right of him and Cara to the left. That'd be perfect. Sorry, guys, you just popped me out again.
Just keep talking. We got you.
That will be the. That's my. I'd go with a back three.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
All right. So back to your youth.
Yeah, back to the youth. I think anyone, especially on Merseyside, growing up with older brothers, and you're always competing against their friends as well. You know, when you have to join in for the football, so I think it forces you to level up a bit. So, you know, if I look at it now, some of the best players that have come through, especially at Liverpool, I know Cara had older brothers, Stevie G. I'm not sure about Robbie. You know, all the best players. Michael Owen definitely. So you're having to compete to get that ball. So I think it forces you to level up, which helped. But yeah, I was at that time when I got spotted to go to Liverpool. I was on the verge of going to join the academy at or the School of Excellence or whatever it was called at Tranmere. Wow. Obviously, it was a local team. They'd heard and watched me a few times, and you know, I was interested in just trying to be picked up. You know, I was playing for my local junior teams and school teams and doing very well. You know, scoring goals for fun, playing very well. And what happened was my dad enrolled me on a course that was going on in Egbert. And Cara was actually on the course, and it was hosted by Hughie McCauley, who went on to be my youth coach, and I did very well. He asked me to come along to Liverpool, and the rest was history. So, you know, it was. I owe a lot to my dad for obviously getting me onto the course, and I owe a lot to Hugh McCauley for inviting me down to Liverpool. Obviously, you can spot a player.
Obviously.
I don't think it was too difficult, to be fair.
You know, speaking of players, you've already mentioned quite a few of the lads that were coming through the academy around your time. You know, you have Owen and Fowler and Gerard, Carragher, McManaman, Mateo. You know, what a bunch of talent right around that age. You know.
I think it was a little bit of a masterstroke from Kenny Dalglish to invite Steve Highway back from the States to get involved in the academy and the centre of excellence it was at the time. I think Stevie's influence there was instrumental. I don't think there's many clubs in the world who could boast that amount of talent to come through, or local talent. I rephrase that, local talent to come through a club in a short period of time. I mean, I know Manchester United did it with the class of '92. That was an extraordinary, you know, fate for them. Chelsea are a very successful club now when it comes to developing youth, but they bring in worldwide talent, and they like to then build them up, put them in the 23s, then loan them out, you know, give them a couple of appearances in the first team and then sell them on for profit. That seems to be a business within a business for them. But I'm talking about developing local talent and harnessing it the way that Steve Highway, Hughie McCauley and Dave Shannon did at Liverpool. What was fantastic about Liverpool is I had the same coaches from when I was 8 or 9 to when I was 17, 18. When I was to when I was 17, because then obviously I progressed over to Sammy Lee in the reserves, and then obviously into the first team when I was 17, 18. But it's an extraordinary. It was an extraordinary experience. It really was. I think I had the finest education in world football. Yeah, you're slightly institutionalized, but you learn how to play the Liverpool way. You learn how to be a winner, and you learn how to do it with humility.
You know, one of the interesting things that I've learned reading up more about, you know, you in preparation of you coming on the show. I mean, you've played under some very renowned coaches, you know, Sunis and Houllier, obviously, and Robson and Sven Goran and, you know, Harry Redknapp. But it seems like you always come back to, you know, Stevie Highway as being the most influential in your life as a footballer.
I would definitely say that. I think Steve is he was an extraordinary man. He had very, very high standards, but some of the sessions that we used to put on were always fun, were always enjoyable, but also with one eye on development, not just development in terms of your technical ability, but in terms of your mentality as well. Because, you know, we had a perfect blend at Liverpool with Hugh McCauley, Dave Shannon, and Steve Highway. You know, we had a mix of Steve with his technical side, his developmental side. Then we had Hugh McCauley with his, you know, Hugh was big on physicality. And then we had Dave who put on some excellent sessions and very enjoyable. And I texted Dave Shannon the other day, actually. I've not spoken to him for a long time, but I was actually sat there thinking we were blessed to have them coaches, and some of them coaching sessions that they put on, we were absolutely blessed.
Does it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it must have been like just inspiring, you know, to see the amount of like legends around the club at the time, like you say, Sammy Lee, you know, Kenny as well. For a young kid, you know, to look up to that has got to spur you on, just kind of like, you know, how Trent and Curtis have come through, and Nico as well.
Slightly different for them, I think. When we were coming through, obviously, you know that Liverpool have changed training grounds now. They've left Melwood, they've gone down to what it was the academy, but has now come like an all-in-one training facility for them down there. And I think that was a magnificent move, because one thing that was special for me You know, coming through as an 8-year-old lad, a 9-year-old, you know, getting down to Melwood to do your training on your Tuesday and Thursday. Well, at that time, it was actually hosted at the Vernon Sangster. But when we eventually moved to Melwood and we were coming through as young boys, you know, you join there, you're part of a first team facility that, you know, legends. It carries history, it carries heritage. And then when you're coming through at 16, 15, 16, 17, and you're actually in and around the first team players, you know, you're pulling your car up next to their, you know, big flashy motors, you're mixing with them, you're seeing how they behave, you're getting to know them a little bit, even though you're such a young and immature young player yourself. You're getting to know how to act and have the lifestyle of a footballer. I think the modern day footballers now, especially when you have them academies separate, it would take them a couple of years to get to know some of the first teamers, and it can be quite intimidating and daunting. At least we got the time to get over that. By the time we were invited to train with the first team, we already knew the first team. You know, we'd been doing their jobs, their chores, you know, getting balls signed by them, mixing with them, having dinner. We already established a relationship with them, so it was easy to make that transition at that point. When you talk about Curtis and Trent, I think it was difficult for them because when they get invited up at 17, that could be the first time that they're meeting players for the first time, and it can be quite intimidating.
You know, you mentioned the first team, and obviously somebody growing up in Liverpool, that's their ultimate goal, right? To play for the first team. You know, I played against you in a supporters match. We wore a red shirt, and that was amazing to me. So I can imagine, you know, you being a local lad, and then you made the first team, you're putting on that shirt for the first time, and then you get into your first game. Can kind of share your experiences of that day.
What was it like the first? What to actually make a debut to
Right.
come through and yeah. I would. It's such an honor and a privilege, really. And when they say it's a dream come true, it is a dream come true. But then very quickly you have to, you know, reassess your dreams. You know, have to make them bigger. You know, it's not just about, you know, okay, I've made my debut, my dreams come true now. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
No, you've got other dreams. You've got league titles. You've got, you know, personal accolades. You've got international accolades. You know, you have to quickly reassess your dreams, because if you don't set them high enough, you know, you got to be careful. You might hit them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously professional footballers are kind of a type A personality anyway, for the most part. So you're always having to readjust. I would imagine,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I met this echelon. Now I gotta become a regular. I gotta, you know, score some goals and things like that. I would imagine.
Yeah, but the feeling. See, what's funny about Liverpool is we used to play A and B football on the Saturday. When you were coming through as an apprentice or a young pro, you have to play for the A team or the B team on the Saturday. But if you were local, you were lucky enough, you get a couple of tickets and you were allowed to go and watch the first team. So you quickly finish your game of football, make your way up to the stadium to then go and watch the first team. And, you know, after playing your game, and then you arrive at the stadium and you can see the stadium filling up, and you see the players out on the pitch that you've been training with. You know, that's how close you are. It's just it's a reminder that, you know, it's a possibility that that's how close you are. And it is a dream come true when you actually step out onto the pitch. It's quite a surreal moment. You know, that's the time. You've got to step up. It's sink or swim, and if you don't take that opportunity, it can quickly bypass you. But yeah, what an experience, you know, to stand on the pitch. And I used this many times. You know, there was one game with the sun was shining. I think it was against Arsenal. So just let me very quickly let you back in. Yeah, it was against Arsenal, and I think I was playing on the right, and Cara was playing right back, or maybe centre half. Let me get you back in. And glorious sunny day. We needed to win. And there's something special about that pitch. You know, the way they used to cut the grass and the way it glows. And then you've got the cop singing "You Never Walk Alone." And it was in full voice. The whole stadium was in full voice, "You Never Walk Alone." And this was like one of our first experience of first team football. And I turned to Cara and I just went, I can't believe this. I said, what are we doing here? You know, you look around and you're playing for Liverpool first team. You've got, you know, the likes of John Barnes, Steve McManaman. You know, there was Neil Ruddock and Paul Ince, Jamie Redknapp. You know, them type of players on that. And I was like, what are we doing here? You know, how did we get here? You know, everything seems to happen so fast. And well, I remember it being a really positive result. I think we won 2-1 or 2-0. I think Robbie Fowler scored one. He cracked one from about 30 yards that went in off the underside of the bar. But it was just a surreal moment, and one that sticks out in my memory, where you just, the excitement was like electricity shooting through your body.
You know, you speak about that experience, and then you listen to other ex-players like, you know, Coutinho and Alonso and Suarez talk about just a special atmosphere at Anfield and being around the team. So I would imagine, you know, leading up to deciding to leave the club, right? Your boyhood club, that had to be something, you know, a mental hurdle in your head that say, hey, I'm gonna leave to better myself.
It was. I always knew I was a late maturer, physically and mentally. I remember Steve Highway pulling me into the office and he said, "You won't be a regular in Liverpool's first team until you're 21, 22." And I looked at him and I thought, I've not got that long. If I'm not a regular by 19 or 20, like I'm gone, because I need to be, I want to be, and I deserve to be. I knew I had the ability to do that. A little bit of naivety there, you know, because I was thinking about it the other day. It was an issue that I forced a move away, because it was a breakdown in relationship with the manager, but it wasn't irretrievable. I mean, they did offer me a 4-year contract before I rejected it, and then asked to be notified about any bids that came in. I think I was just a bit naive and a bit foolish, really. Yeah, the move forced me to grow up. Yeah, it looked after me financially, but in terms of being a success, and I just felt like I was up against it. And I don't know whether it was tough love from Gerard Houllier, whether it was a plan to try to get me to mature. I wasn't quite sure, but I didn't feel like I was being appreciated. But looking back, I actually think he was just trying to develop me and look after me and harness my what can only be my determination and my desire to try to be a first team footballer.
You know, obviously it's well documented that Bobby Duncan's, you know, issues with Liverpool, and then the ones that he's had since. Did you find any kind of parallels with what he was going through, what his thought process were, than what maybe you were going through at a young age as well?
No, because I'd actually had that. I'd had the regular season and a half in the first team.
Can you hear him, Daz?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? Have you got me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Steve?
El Presidente? Steve, go?
Yeah. Steve, can you hear us? Oh, Steve's gone missing.
He's just froze with that cheeky grin on him.
He'll come back in anyway.
Yeah, he's back in.
No, I mean, you know, because I've seen some of your stuff, like you had a bit of you know, behavioural issues, I would say. You know, you got sent off and then got sent to
the academy.
So I mean, that must have been like, you know, a big hit to you.
It was actually, because I was 18 on just turning 19, and obviously you feel like you've left that behind, you know, to then not even go back and train with the reserves. It was actually sent back to train with the youth team, and it was a 2 weeks there. And I'll be honest with you, right? It was a 2 weeks that I could go back and refocus, and I was around my old coaches, and it probably did me the world of good. Although I still had the problems with my discipline. but it was only discipline on the pitch with a desire to try to do well. It was a burning desire that, you know, nothing was going to stand in my way. That's why sometimes when I was a bit overzealous in the tackles, but I see the same thing in Stevie G. You know, it was like, I think it was a positive characteristic. I think without it, I wouldn't have made it. I wasn't doing anything different that I'd done in the youth teams than when I got in the reserve team to then when I got in the first team. The fact you get away with it more in the reserves because obviously, you know, you get sent off. There's not that much at stake. But when you get sent off for the first team, you've let the team down. I'm not saying you haven't let them down in the reserves, but there's less at stake. When you get into the Premier League, there's so much at stake, you know, and it's important you learn that lesson because you have to be disciplined. And I think I wasn't mature enough to recognise that. I still thought it was a burning desire, and I was showing people how much I wanted to play for Liverpool. When I look back at it now, it was a slight immaturity, and you know, if you ask me, did I make the right decision in leaving? Yes and no. You know, yes to go and further my personal development, but there was so much that I could have achieved at Liverpool if I'd have just either bided my time and or, you know, maybe look at what was then an unusual situation, but like to go out on loan. You only went out on loan to the lower division, and I'd been out on loan to the Championship, and I felt like I'd done so well in the Championship, it was easy for me. So I felt like I was a Premier League player. I would have saw that in my development as a step backwards. And at that time, you didn't have that where you could loan to another Premier League club, a year-long loan. That would have been an ideal opportunity for me. You know, maybe go out on loan 6 months to someone, a year, and sort of grow up, get outside my comfort zone a little bit, so to speak. But yeah, I did. I obviously missed out on the treble, or the 5 trophies, I should say, by leaving. Which is it is a regret. Hindsight is you know, it's such a wonderful thing. But when they signed Nick Barmby for $8 million, I just presumed that he was signed for me to have a fight out with him. And I think when you're paying that money over an academy player, I think you're gonna play him. So it's not that I wasn't prepared to fight, but I just felt like I'd proven myself. I was physically growing up. I was getting stronger. I was getting quicker, and I just felt like that was going to be my season. And when they signed him, I was really disappointed. So, you know, coupled with all the arguments and the little, you know, disgruntled arguments with Gerrard, I just felt like I'd go away and prove myself. Mm-hmm. I just felt like I could go anywhere and prove myself, and I felt like I was actually doing that.
So did you think there was a rift between you and Houllier, or it was just?
I felt like there was an awkwardness. I think like maybe he was more forgiving towards like Carragher and Stevie G. I know we all had similar type run-ins, but obviously I think Carragher and Stevie G's discipline problems were off the field. Mine was just an immaturity maybe, and an overzealous nature in my tackling. I had a fight in a reserve game, and it may have come across like thuggish. You know, it was really the wrong thing to do, but I just reacted in the same way that I've been reacting all my career. But I needed to learn that lesson, and that's why they sent me to the academy.
But you also got sent off in a first team game as well, right?
Yeah, I did. I got sent off against Leicester, and that was so I got sent off against Leeds. Then I remember getting sent off at Blackburn. That was all very close together. Then I got sent off for the first team against Leicester. I could have been sent off for the first tackle in the Leicester game, to be fair, and I only got a yellow, so I was lucky to still be on the pitch. But we lost that game, and you know, Filbert Street, I think, was always a tough place to go when we were playing Leicester. I think Martin O'Neill was the manager. It was always tough for us to go and get a result. I think we started off really well, and then after when I got sent off, I think they nicked the winner late on. So, you know, it just compounded my situation, really. I mean, it was another nail in my coffin.
I mean, would Houllier come, you know, bring you aside like after the match or the next day in training and just say,
yeah,
hey,
he was good like that. He really was, you know. I mean, I remember some days I used to go in on my days off, and you know, I'd be having a bag of balls, taking free kicks, practicing my technique, and he'd come out from his office, you know, just wander onto the pitch and start telling me stories, and you know, trying to give me little pointers. And you know, he was very good, but I think, you know, it just got a bit awkward between us. To be fair, I did let the lads down that day. I should have been a lot more disciplined that game, but I wasn't. So yeah, that was. It created tensions between us, and then there was. I remember once he questioned my diet, which he was probably right to do. You know, I'd never been one to eat the salads, and I think my weight was getting a little bit. You know, I was never one of them players who had a six pack and big pecs. I never felt like I needed to, you know. But it was just the changing of the times, and maybe I was a little bit slow in catching on.
hold on, Steve. Steve, you're on mute for some reason.
Hello?
There you go.
Hey. Well, I'm back. Hey, I wanted to know when something like that happens on the pitch, when you know you've gotten sent off, is there a coming together in the locker room after the game from the team captains, or is there a bollocking, or what happens? What's the dynamics there?
I think if it's for something petulant, and then you go on and lose the game, then you know, rightly so. Some of the lads will have a pop at you, the manager will have a pop at you, and you've got to take it. You've just got to take it on the chin. But I think, if I remember rightly, I remember when I got sent off in a reserve game, or I think it was a reserve game at Blackburn away. But I remember being in the game, and I remember Phil Thompson constantly he was giving me a bollocking constantly in the game. He was constantly telling me this was wrong, that was wrong. And I was thinking, you know, he was trying to play the game for me. And I was thinking, you're not letting me make my own mistakes. You know, I understand you want me to go here, there, and everywhere. And I lost my temper with Phil. I don't know whether it was a distraction. And I ended up, you know, screaming to Phil, basically to F off, which didn't go down too well, because about 10 minutes afterwards, I did get sent off. So that compounded my situation. Then in the dressing room, I did kick the Lucozade bottle, as I heard Gerard Houllier in the shower. He was in the showers, and I could hear him. He was speaking in French and bits of English, and I knew it was about me. I knew he wasn't happy, and I just kicked the Lucozade bottle. Lo and behold, Gerard appears round from the showers. The Lucozade bottle hits him right in the chest, and he just looked at me straight away, and he went, "You are finished. You are finished." So
you've never drank Lucozade ever again?
I can't even look at it.
Oh man, what a story!
Yeah, but the thing is, we did patch things up, and you know, I had that hiatus out the first team for, you know, for the suspension was quite a long time. I think it was about 6-7 weeks. You know, it felt like an eternity. But actually, when I came back fit, Gerard put me straight in the first team, and I remember the game was Watford away. We needed to win. We were on the coattails of Champions League places, and I managed to put in a really strong performance and score the goal. So, you know, to have that 6-week break out the first team, and then, you know, when I'm back fit, for him to put faith in me and put me back in the first team shoulder, you know, I was really pleased about that, and I felt like I rewarded him with a good performance.
Well, 99 was probably your most productive season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where you mostly were in the team. Yeah, but I mean, again, like Steve said, it must have been one of the toughest decisions ever to your boyhood club and just going, yeah, if I'm not getting the football I've got to leave.
The problem was I'd always played, I'd always been a centre midfielder, always my whole career. And I'd always, when the awards were given out at the end of the season, I was always, player of the year or, most improved player, whatever it is, in centre midfield. I knew that position inside out. I was a box-to-box midfielder. I could defend, I could tackle, I could get up the pitch, I could score goals, I could create goals. When Gerrard came, he just put me out wide, and I found it really difficult having to wait for the game to come to me. So that was a big frustration. I didn't really want to play on the right. I felt like Steve McManaman, he'd been playing there quite a bit in the season before me. He was big shoes to fill. He suited that position, right, left, going up and down the pitch. Whereas for me, I was never a natural right-sider. I could play there, I could cross the ball, I could do a good job for the team. I never let anyone down. But it was a new position to have to learn when you're in the first team. It's hard enough having to play in the first team in your natural position. So then to go and have to learn a new position in the first team was tough. And I didn't think that I could do that role justice, actually. I think if you're going to, at that time, if you wanted to play wide right, you'd put, big, strong runners out there and people who were disciplined. I was slightly indisciplined because I used to get amongst it, get on the ball, make things happen, jink, create chances, have shots at goal. I couldn't do that from the right-hand side. So I used to get frustrated, not only in my own game, because I felt I could do so much better. I felt like the position was restricting me so much. And the way we were playing, Gerrard was very defensive. At times, he was asking me to drop back into that, basically one of the strikers had to drop in. We have a 5-man midfield and we create that team block. It was very effective, but the team block was operating from a deep position. So I always felt like when we did get the chance to attack, I was having to attack starting from 60, 70 meters, almost like that counter-attacking game, which didn't suit my game whatsoever.
Oh, to me, that's kind of like, how Thiago has started his Liverpool career. He's more of an attacking midfielder and he's had to go more deeper. So, everybody's kind of having a go saying he doesn't suit the team, but he's not really playing in his, preferred position as yourself.
Well, yeah, I look at Thiago and I think he is possibly one of the most complete midfielders I've ever seen. I love watching him play. I love his vision. I love his passing ability, his touch, the way he plays the game. He's just not fit at the moment. He missed so much of pre-season, Then he got COVID. Then he missed. He missed pre-season. He got COVID. Then he had that issue with the tackle from Richarlison. Recovering from that, he was 2 months out. Mm-hmm. He's playing catch up with himself, and it's going to take him a long time to get to full fitness, because in the Premier League, you can't be at your best if you're only 70, 80% fit. And we've seen that with Jordan Henderson over the years. The times when he gets his criticism, when the fans get on his back, is because when he's tried to come back and he's not fit enough. He can't do himself justice in them games. When you put that kit on, people just think you're 100% fit. You're putting a shift in for the team, but you are there to be judged. Thiago next season will be, a force to be reckoned with. Also, we've signed him to play with Fabinho. Mm-hmm. He's going to have him mopping up behind him. He will break up the play. He'll find Thiago or to play with Henderson. He's just an amazing. He's an amazing footballer. So the best is yet to come from Thiago. Anyone who thinks he's been a bad signing is just on a different planet for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people forget that team structure is really a big component of player success, right? Even when Keita came, he was used to just playing anywhere he wanted on the pitch, but then he comes to Liverpool and he has to be, defensively sound. That's why he didn't get a lot of playing time at the probably the first 3 or 4 months, just because he wasn't playing within the structure that Klopp wanted. And you see,
we've never seen the best of Keita.
No.
I'm not convinced we ever will, actually, because I think he may be on borrowed time. It might help him if Wijnaldum doesn't sign his contract and then goes to Barcelona. But I mean, I'd be devastated if Gini goes, because I think Gini is a wonderful footballer, a really complete midfielder. But yeah, Keita's really struggled. He's struggled to get up to the pace of the Premier League, and he's always been chasing his tail. He's always going to find it difficult. He needs to get a pre-season under his belt without any injuries, and then go on and get a run of games under his belt, and that's when we'll see the best of him. We'll see him creating goals. No doubt he's a talented footballer. He's got great control, good balance, decent vision. He likes to get up the pitch, but we've not seen enough of him, have we?
No. And we kind of segue into injuries, and let's talk about you getting your first major injuries around 2002. And what we learned in recent interviews, with Jason McAteer and some of the older players, that they're mentally not ready to be out of football as a final thing, but also not mentally prepared to do rehabilitation for a long time, to not be at the 100% levels that they're expecting, once you start getting the injuries. So can you take us through your mindset during those times?
My mindset was really, I found it really, really difficult to cope. And I underestimated. I always thought I was a mentally strong guy. You can cope with problems, can cope with this. But, once you take football away from me, basically my whole world fell apart. I don't think I've ever recovered from it, really. To be told by a doctor that, you're on borrowed time, your knees, basically knackered, it's very difficult to take. And, it puts you in a dark place. And, you feel like you're dealing with it, but it's only when you look back, you go, no, I've not dealt with that. I've not dealt with that. It's in terms of my mental health, I still have problems with it to this day, because all my goals and aspirations were always to win trophies, to get international honours, to compete in international tournaments. And, I felt like that when I left Liverpool, I was beginning to prove myself. When I signed for Blackburn, I was having a hell of a season. When I was stepping out onto the pitch, I felt like, teams were worried about me. If you were having a team talk in the opposition dressing room, I felt like, they'd probably have a 5-minute little, ramble about how to stop me, stop me getting in the pocket, stop me getting into the spaces, putting balls into the box. I felt like, you feel like you're just on top of your game. Everything was coming together. And then the end of that season, I just felt something very innocuous in my knee, like a little pop, but it led to a lot of swelling. And it was not long after I'd been called up by Sven in one of the training sessions, one of the first training sessions. And Gary Lewin, the England physio, I think at the time, he looked at it and he gave me this note to get a scan when I got back. And I wasn't expecting anything bad to come of it, but when I got back to Blackburn, the doctor organised a scope, because I had a 5-booking suspension, which meant I had about a 2-week break. Which, when you go and get a scope, is enough time for you to recover. If there's nothing wrong, I go back and play your football. When I came round off the operation, which I just thought was going to be a scope, I woke up and the doctor said to me, the club doctor said, we took the liberty to do what's called an osteochondral, to repair an osteochondral defect. He said, rather than bring you back out the anaesthetic, we took the liberty to repair the injury while you were under. I said, okay, well, how long am I going to be out for? He said 10 months. And that was just like, my world fell apart at that point. Because when you're out for that long and you're going to lose place, you're going to struggle to come back from that to that sort of form. So the timing was bad. So anyway, I did the rehabilitation. I was very strict. I was very dedicated. And I came back and I felt strong. I felt quite good. think I played about 10 games, including reserve games and friendlies. But I actually, the knee, something wasn't right. I had a niggling problem, always had swelling in the knee. So I went over, I went and got the, I went back to the original doctor who did the operation. I said to him, I'm still feeling a little bit of swelling, still getting a little problem with it. And he basically turned around and said to me, well, there's not much more I can do for you. And that was just to complete the bedside manner of this guy was like, oh my God, you basically just told me my career's over. Mm-hmm. So, and enough collapsed in the club doctor's arms. And we took the decision to go and see Richard Stedman over in the States. Mm-hmm. He was a fantastic guy, a real world-renowned surgeon. He'd operated on the likes of Van Nistelrooy, Kobe Bryant, Alan Shearer. Mm-hmm. And, them guys got back to the top of the game. He'd also done Jamie Redknapp, who was a good friend of mine. We operated on him 2 years previous, and Jamie had got back. So we flew out to see him. When he looked at the knee, he just said to me, look, he said, I can fix it. I can help fix it. I might buy you another 3 years. He said, they won't be great years, but I can buy you another 3 years. You'll be able to compete. And he was right, because he did. He got me another 3 years. And, they weren't my best years of my career, but, I still managed to compete in very successful periods for Premier League teams, the likes of Bolton, Portsmouth, and Wigan, who all had their highest finishes in the Premier League at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because having to retire at 29, as a footballer, when you still think you can still compete.
Honestly, I've never recovered. The bracket that I saw myself in, people they may laugh and snigger, but I saw myself in the bracket of being an England international, and and going to tournaments, European Championships, and I felt like I was getting to that level. My statistics at the time, I think I'd scored 7 goals in the Premier League that season, and it was only February when I had the operation. I think I had 13 assists. It was they were the figures to be an England international, and probably why I was called into the squad. Mm-hmm. To then have it taken away just when you're just within touching distance, it's heartbreaking. Not only having to cope with the end of your career and having to change your life basically is it's very hard. It's so when I read something the other day that if you think about something over and over years after the event, then it's not just grief, it's like a PTSD. Mm-hmm. And that's something I think about because I still have regrets about my career and still have feelings of failure and underachievement.
Well, I know. Many footballers will say, their darkest days is when they're in rehab because they're by themselves as well. With just a trainer, they're away from the team, just like, Virgil is right now, Gomez is.
It's a lonely place. It's a very lonely place. It's a dark place, but it's a very lonely place. It can affect your mental health, and that's dangerous. When you feel lonely and isolated, that's dangerous. So I think these physios now, it's important to, when the lads are ready to, step up the work, then it is important that you include them back into the first team environment and a natural, normal environment as soon as possible, because just the thought of being in and around the lads and back, is enough to get you through.
Mm-hmm. I think the issue with a lot of fans as well, David, is that they don't quite understand. They're just like, well, you're a footballer, you make this amount of money. How can you be in these dark, times in your head? Because they think you're superhuman. You're just a normal human being, just like everyone else, and having to go through that because a lot of footballers, if you talk to, that's all they know. They don't.
It is all they know, and they've got their. Everybody.
Not much education, because it's just been football. So that is all they know.
Yeah, and also because it is football. You're having to deal with what you're having to sick of my computer just locking me out.
We can hear you, so no worries.
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, it just throws me out there when you make an eye contact with someone and then.
Just don't make eye contact then.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, what
Where was I?
Oh, we're talking about mental health. One of the things I read recently is that, we give Big Sam a lot of stick, but I read that he was really one of the first coaches to implement, personality test and, psychoanalysis for the players. So that's so huge now, right? So
he did. I mean, that was when I signed for Bolton. It was. I was so surprised how professional it was when I arrived. They did a thorough medical. Then we go straight into did a human resource test, see how you can fit in with the players and the staff. Then they sort of have a psychoanalyst in there. It's a really professional club, and I found that really helped me. In all fairness, and this is one of the good things about Sam. People will they've got a lot of criticism for him, but one thing he's fantastic at is where he fails, he will bring in the staff to make up for his for what he's inadequate at, and that is a skill in itself. To create a management team and an environment, which is why he's so successful as a manager, because he recognises where he may fall short, and he'll bring in the staff to support him, and that's what being a leader is all about. And I think he's been fantastic.
Yeah, I think Klopp's the same way. He brings in people to accentuate the parts that are not his strong suits. And like you said, that is a sign of a good leader, to be able to accept that you're not great at everything.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think Boris Johnson could do with creating a good support network around him as well. But
oh, that's dead. Yeah.
That's off air.
David, I wanted to mention quickly is you've mentioned Steve Peters before, has really, helped you out, get a better perspective,
Yeah, I was having a lot of anger issues with the club doctor at Blackburn, and I think obviously, to come around from that operation, having someone perform that operation that they did without giving me the choice of which surgeon I wanted to go and see, or without having the opportunity to assess, where my career was going to go, that created a lot of anger inside me and a lot of emotional imbalance. So then to come back from and get myself fit, put the 10 months in, and only play 10 reserve games, and then still have the same problem and have to go and get the problem readdressed, and then be out for another 9 to 10 months. To then come back, I worked like a Trojan. I played so well. I got myself in great physical condition after 20 months out. We had a game live on Sky against Manchester United, and I felt really good. I felt like, the knee was fine. I wasn't having the problems with the swelling. And after 10 minutes, I think Kleberson, just really innocuous tackle, just slipped my leg away, and I ended up, I think it was, I don't know if I broke a bone in my ankle or whether I tore some ligaments, but I was out for another 3 months, and it was just devastating. So I was having real issues. When we talk about the mental side of the game and having to deal with that, and I think I was taking it out on the doctor and the medical staff at Blackburn. He recommended that I go and see Steve Peters. It was a good decision, actually, because I also felt like I was having problems with my ego as well at the time. You're not being able to perform. I didn't feel like I was being the right person in and around the dressing room. So he helped put a great perspective on it, and I really admire his work. And Liverpool had a really successful spell when he was employed at the club under Brendan Rodgers. I think that was a bit of a masterstroke there. Yeah, but I would definitely welcome, and I think it's a huge part in the sport and especially the Premier League now. It's a bit of a must.
Yeah, I've seen you say, it should be compulsory to see a sports psychologist.
Absolutely, I think that they're worth their weight in gold, and I think even in people in everyday life, if they can get a chance to go and see a psychologist, or even if you're carrying a little bit of trauma, a little bit of something that you're not quite understanding, to go and get a good perspective on it. We talk about mental health. I was watching, a program the other day about, I think it was not Ross Kemp. Who was the guy out of Spandau Ballet?
Which one?
Kemp. There was a Kemp. Martin Kemp, is it?
Martin Kemp, yeah.
Martin Kemp. His son, Roman Kemp, had done a documentary for the BBC recently about young men and mental health and suicide rates. And I think, people who got any sort of issues or problems, if they can reach out and have that sort of support network there, they got the opportunity to go and speak to someone, to offload, to then try and get a different perspective, or even have someone try to pass on an understanding for you. I think that was, I think it's so important. It really is so important. I think most Premier clubs should be giving the players access to this. Not just a sports psychologist, but a general psychologist. They're having to deal with. There's a lot of pressure, and that pressure can manifest itself and come out in different ways, whether you're handling it or not. Some people cope really well with it, other people don't.
We've on many of our shows we've talked about mental health, just getting therapy, and we've had a lot of guests that have just now gotten therapy over Hillsborough. 30 years later, they're just now seeking the therapy. So we're very, very big proponents of people seeking assistance, where they can, talking to somebody and working their way through these things. So yeah, we commend you on that journey for sure. I wanted to ask you something. You mentioned BBC, so I wanted to segue into your new career, in the media, and how you're finding it and what you enjoy about it.
At first, when I initially retired, I was struggling psychologically with football. I just felt like it not chewed me up and spat me out, I think. But from being in demand and important to them feeling like you're basically you're begging people for contracts to take a chance on you. Look at me, I am fit and I can do a job for you, even though in the back of your mind you can't. So then you asked about my media work. So for about 2 or 3 years, I could watch football, but I didn't enjoy it. And when people ask me to go on shows, they ask me to do this, a lot of BBC, punditry work and commentary work, and I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want nothing to do with it for 2 or 3 years. I needed to get the football out of my system, and especially did not like talking about myself or my own career. I hadn't analysed it. I hadn't looked back. I hadn't, put it into perspective yet. So I was still trying to come to terms with the downfall of that. I always hated talking about myself when I was a player. I always liked to, let my football do the talking on the pitch. So it was quite strange. So initially I didn't enjoy doing the media work. But then I think, obviously, you had Peter McDowell on last week, did you?
Yeah.
Was it last week or the week before?
A couple of weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember Peter was one of the first ones who reached out and asked me to start doing the radio with him, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed analysing the games. I really enjoyed, talking, and that was the start of, falling back in love with football, and I've got a lot to thank Peter for that.
Yeah, you did the Radio Merseyside with him, right?
Yeah. We did that. I was happy that I didn't have to talk about myself. I always felt ashamed of my career. The way it pitted out from going from having a big rise, and then the way it pitted out, I felt ashamed. I didn't like talking about it. So then to go and comment on the games was a welcome distraction, and something that I found that I really enjoyed, and I thought I was good at it.
Oh, you are good. And you know, it seems like it allows you to have the connection still with your team, right? You obviously playing in those Legends
Yes.
supporter games, doing the media. You're still around the club, around the player. So I'd imagine as still as an athlete, not too far removed, it gives you some peace of mind to
Yeah,
be able to do that.
it was fine up until COVID.
Mhm.
think I was enjoying doing the work for the BBC. I was doing a lot of podcasts with them every Sunday. That was really enjoyable work. Which COVID has sort of put paid for that, because the BBC, and rightly so, they've looked after their contracted players, and any of the freelance players that were still involved have obviously been cast to one side while they utilise their contracted players. So hopefully, next season we can, when COVID's out the way and everybody's vaccinated and things get back to normal, that I will pick up more enjoyable work from them.
Definitely wanted to ask you, about the Talk Sport, because you were doing fantastic on there, and what a decision to make, and a very proud decision to make for when you left. I'm not going to name the rag because it's not worth it, but you must have felt like, obviously, Talk Sport were good to you, but then that they
I was really enjoying the work that they were asking me to do. It was getting me out once, twice a week down into London. It was giving me a purpose that I was enjoying, but then it was a difficult decision, actually, because I did feel like I didn't feel pressured. It was not a pressured decision. Obviously, when the takeover came in, but what I did notice is there was more advertisement and there was more articles related to TalkSport in that newspaper, and that newspaper was always in and around the place, so it was fairly evident that the connection there, even though they're saying it's not. It was fairly evident. Colin Murray, I think he left slightly before me, and I just felt it was a decision that needed to be made. Oh, can I just say, it was really enjoyable show. I had nothing against the people there whatsoever, but just from a political standpoint, I thought it was the right thing to do.
Do you find that people in the media understand that, especially over there in the UK, they understand that these are dynamics that are pretty well set, from somebody from Liverpool. These are the standards, these are our beliefs, and then these we make decisions based on that. And for some people, they're like, oh, it's been so long, but you can't really fight against that as a cultural system,
Well, I don't think that newspaper's ever moved on, really.
No.
That's the thing. So it's when some people say sorry, you have to mean that you're sorry, and have to show that you're sorry. But I don't think that you might have admitted once that it was sorry. But in terms of the behaviour, nothing's changed. And they're never going to learn the lesson. And yeah, it was. It was an easy decision for me. In the end, it was an easy decision. But one I was disappointed with, because I enjoyed doing the work, and it gave me that sense of purpose to, it made me feel like I was involved in it. And ultimately, I thought I would have got a bit more work in the north, but because of the timing, BBC had already issued contracts out to their roving correspondents and the lads who were doing the match of the day and stuff like that. So there was no work there for me, so I had to wait and be patient for work to come up. And it is what it is.
Do you have a favorite piece that you've done here, in the last few years that you're like, you look back and say, man, I still enjoy that turned out pretty well?
When you say piece, what do you mean?
Just like an interview or just a segment that you can look back and say that I really enjoyed that.
I always enjoy the work. Now, I always enjoy talking about football. I enjoy talking about my experiences, because I feel like, if I can help, if anyone listening to it can feel or make a connection to it in some sort of way, and if my experiences help someone, a little bit of advice, then I always feel like it's worthwhile. I always feel like I've got something to say now. Whereas, you know, obviously when I initially retired, I just didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about football. I didn't want to talk about me. I just wanted to try and if people would stop me in the street, you know, and they'd say, "Oh, are you David Thompson?" And it's like, I deny him. I deny it because I think I'm not getting into a conversation about football here because they're only going to ask me about my injury, and I've not come to terms with it yet myself anyway. So I found it difficult. But in terms of one specific piece, no. But there is, you know, there's interviews and work there that I'm proud of most things actually that I do.
As you should be, you know. Yeah. What's one of your obviously putting the Liverpool shirt on for the first time, very proud moment. But what's one of your, you know, favourite memories of playing for Liverpool?
You know what? One of my favourite memories actually was when I scored against Southampton and we won 7-1, and all the lads who scored that day, Don Matteo, Robbie Fowler, Michael Owen, Cara, and myself, I might be missing one more, all came through the ranks. You know, in the Premier League game, we all scored. All the players that scored had come through the ranks within the last 3 years. And I just thought that's an achievement that I don't think all local lads as well. I don't think anyone's going to be able to, any club in the country, that's never going to happen again. For as long as the Premier League's around, it's not going to happen again.
Was Kara's an own goal? I was just wondering.
No, it was, I think it was a tap-in. I think, if I remember right, I don't know if it was Patrick Berger's shot or Robbie Fowler's shot, but it was. I remember it being a tap-in. It wasn't from outside the box anyway.
Yeah, I'm just taking a piss out of him.
Must have come off his knee.
What was funny though, I never seen him have a shot from outside the box until his last ever game at Anfield when he hit the post. It would have been the best goal scored in the Cop End for years.
I'm going to ask you one last thing because, you know, and this has nothing to do with football, but your cycling accident falling off of a cliff edge. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was down a ravine actually. It was a pal of mine just asked me to. Yeah, he asked me to come on up. But the thing is, I didn't have a helmet on. He just asked me to come on this bike ride with him, and he told me that it was going to be more roads. And when we got up there, he changed his mind and took me to this a place called Teg's Nose in Macclesfield, which is renowned for being like really hilly, steep walks. So we set off on the bike instantly. Like we parked high up on the walk, the mountain, whatever it is. Starts instantly downhill into like 30-40 mile an hour, and he's gone round this bend, but the bike that he was on had all the suspension. The bike that I was on didn't have any suspension. It was only barely had 2 wheels. But what they'd done is they'd put these steps in as it was going round the corner. So as we go round the corner, his bike's all the suspension dealt with it. My bike just went bang, 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 and he must have knew the steps was there because he slowed down, but I've just accelerated right into it, over the steps and just down about a 30-foot with me. And I just remember flying through the air, and I'm thinking, I've got to somehow tuck because otherwise I'm going to land straight on my head. So I've tucked and landed straight on my wrist and snapped my wrist, winded myself, and was very lucky actually. So, but that was the end of my
cycling,
my downhill mountain biking ways. Honestly, it scared the life out of me. I felt invincible up until that point, and I think I was looking for like a little bit of an adrenaline buzz, and I was getting it. But I think when you come that close to actually doing yourself damage, you know, it puts everything into perspective. And the funny thing is, I snapped my wrist and they put it in plaster. but I felt like I couldn't even jog. I couldn't even go for a jog because I was so scared that if I fell on it again, I'd break it. So I basically did nothing for 6 months, and I was so depressed. I only broke my wrist, but I was so depressed. I felt like I was incapacitated completely. So it was quite a strange period that.
Trust me. My wife broke her wrist playing basketball, and then the doctor didn't set it right, so they had to re-break it a few weeks later. Oh. So yeah, you didn't want to re-injure it because it's not good.
Yeah, funny times. God, I'd forgotten about that.
Man, I could just picture, just being there and watching somebody fly off a cliff edge.
Honestly, it was. I was lucky because there was like a 30-foot ledge, and it was mostly downhill. It was very steep, but yeah, I was lucky, to be fair.
Well, David. Yeah, David. It's been a pleasure having you come on the show today and telling your story, and teaching new fans and old fans more about what made you tick and how your career went. So appreciate your time this morning.
No, I appreciate coming on, boys. I really enjoyed listening to Peter McDowell last week. Seems like you're doing good stuff, so keep it up. Get as many as you can, and get the YouTube channel up there. Get your subscriptions up, and
well, we're just trying to get free pints when we come back to the city. That's all.
I'll tell you what. I'm not going for a bike ride with you.
The bike's still in the shed. Actually, I'm collecting dust there, but
you got training wheels on it now.
It's got stabilizers on it. But it's beautiful up in Macclesfield, up around there. There's some beautiful walks. You get high up. It's great views, but you got to be careful, really. You know what I mean?
I bet it was a great view.
Make sure you got the right equipment, but
you guys can ride those bikes that two people can pedal at the same time.
No, just stay in the water for those.
Yeah. But no, listen, it was a pleasure coming on, and thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's great to have you on because you've got these newer fans that don't know anything past like 2018. Yeah. So it's always great to bring a former player on. Give them the history of Liverpool. So yeah, I really do appreciate it.
It's quite funny, and you talk about the new fans, because if I put a tweet out that's quite controversial, or if it's in disagreement with maybe somehow with the team shape or the team system, it's like the meme, the Colin McGregor meme. It's like, who the fuck is this guy? That seems to pop up. It's like, yeah, you must be about 14, so yeah, we'll let you off with that one.
Yeah. Trust us, we do that every day on social media. When someone posts something, we're like, who the hell are you, and what do you?
Who the fuck is this guy?
That's right. How many games have you watched?
Well,
they're all FIFA managers these days.
You know what? It's like this is the dangerous thing about social media, and I was talking about this to my partner today. It's it's a very dangerous place where you can just you can create an account and without having to upload your ID, without having to show your address, and just basically just cane anyone you like, and just disagree with anyone and vent. It's and I think what's dangerous about it is you've got youngsters who are out there, on social media, and it's basically unpoliced. It's an unpoliced platform, so you're relying on these social media giants to police them and restrict them and put the right content out there to educate these youngsters, and it's not working. So like in 10, 15 years time, I can reckon we'll look back and we might be happy with the restrictions they put in place, but at the minute now it's just like a free for all.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all like the racist comments, to Rashford and all the black players. It's disgusting, and nothing's being done.
It's not just race. It's anything. It's like it's there's bullying, there's all kinds going on. It's totally unpoliced. It's a dangerous place. It is a dangerous world. And parents and adults have got a responsibility to act correctly on there.
Yeah, that's what I'll be teaching mine.
Yeah, no.
They won't see a computer until they're 20.
Good lad.
I won't be buying one.
Well, yeah.
All right. Well, listen. Thanks for having me on, guys. Been a pleasure.
Yeah, same with us, mate. And
sorry about last week as well, by the way. Complete misunderstanding.
No worries.
All good. All good. Sometimes I forget. But cheers, David. Appreciate it, mate.
No problem.